We thought everything was fine when Alex was a baby. We didn't notice until around 6 months when Alex wasn't sitting properly that maybe something might be going on.
When we got the original diagnosis of cerebral palsy, that we kind of questioned that diagnosis. We decided to do a genetic test.
And that's when we found out that we had the SCN2A. So he was like 1 year and 4 months.
At one point in Alex's life that he was able to grab balls, but he was interacting a lot. And the seizures took all that away from him.
Get some food in that belly. Get some food in that belly.
And seizures, at one point were like 30 to 40 a day.
There's something called SUDEP, sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. That definitely is a thief in the night. We just recently lost a child that I knew personally who was 18 and actually in very good health. She had autism and epilepsy and just didn't wake up the next morning.
We thought they were going to have all these answers for us and like, oh, this is what we do now. And all we got was he had Googled SCN2A, I think like during the meeting and was like, oh, we found this foundation. Like maybe they know something. And we're like, okay, great.
Our name is Families SCN2A. It's all one word, but Families is in there for a reason because SCN2A-related disorders affect the whole family. And part of our mission is making sure that we take care of the families. They're the ones who have to deal with it on the front lines every day. That's part of our community building. And if we don't have that support, the research isn't going to go anywhere.
Working with the Family Foundation, working with and actually interacting with families and meeting their children and learning so much about their children and learning from the parents has been the most rewarding part of my career, and I think a lot of people in this field.
And the families, most of the time they go to a doctor's appointment and they might get a half an hour with a doctor, but they can actually talk to someone who's studying their child's disease. SCN2A is a gene. We all have it. It's very important, especially in how your brain functions. And when you have a mutation in that gene, it can have devastating effects. Anywhere from mild autism or mild epilepsy to very severe epilepsy and autism, or both.
And SCN2A, amongst those sodium channels, I think of as being one of the most important and actually of all genes in your brain, one of the most important genes involved in learning.
So kids with SCN2A, learning is impaired in every way possible.
We don't know what's going to happen, that his diagnosis with this particular disorder, it's just a slow moving car and all other cars were moving extremely fast. He's going down the freeway at a much slower rate.
Some kids will have some issues and some kids will have other issues, or some kids will have a mix of issues that show up at different parts in their development. We tend to think of this spectrum as going from something called gain of function all the way down to loss of function. Let's take, for example, an analogy where individual brain cells are cars going down the streets. Those cars need spark to get down the street and they need some sort of engine. That engine is SCN2A. So half of your engine is made by mom and half of your engine is made by dad. And you can have an issue in those instructions that would change only half of the engine. On the loss of function side, the instructions are damaged in such a way that they're unreadable. And so what you end up having is only half an engine. And you can imagine under those conditions, you don't get down the road as fast as you want to. On the other side is gain of function. You could think of it as you slapped a turbocharger on your engine and now it goes faster. But the truth is you've only slapped a turbocharger on half of your engine. And what ends up happening is you have a car that's completely uncontrollable. Within this gain of function, loss of function range, there are things in the middle that have a little bit of loss and a little bit of gain. And those are actually really, really complicated. And those are probably the hardest for us to understand and really develop therapeutics for. And that's actually the situation that Alex is in.
The goal of behavior therapy is to help kids skill build in any area of need that they have. So that ranges from communication, play skills, self-care, building stamina, you name it. If it is a skill that can be encouraged and worked on, then ABA therapy can help with that skill.
Oh, good. Oh.
You gotta do all the numbers. Keep going. Like maybe number 3 next. Awesome. Stick that in. Almost. Perfect. 2 more left. Way to go! You did them all. What are we gonna eat? What do you think?
People. Let's eat veggie sticks.
Let's eat veggie sticks. You got it. Way to go. Way to go. Kids with SCN2A have a really difficult time with motor skills, and that's because their brain is not sending a signal to their body to do something, so they're just kind of stuck. They might have the thought or the idea of doing something, but they can't. So that could be as simple as picking up a toy, waving hello, giving a high five.
The inputs are there, the hardware is there. We just need some sort of software modification to reawaken the ability for those synapses, for those inputs to change to support learning.
And we have this community that, you know, we are able to share not only things that are working and, you know, success stories is a big part of it. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, inch stones and it's not milestones. And
when we put skill building into the mix, all of a sudden our kids are able to communicate yes or no. They're able to go to an iPad communication device and say veggie sticks when they want veggie sticks. It gives the child more freedom because they can be independent, and most kids want to be independent. And it gives the parent more freedom because they are not having to do everything for their child anymore.
we want to keep setting him up to win, which means putting in the extra effort of therapies. You know, at one point, I think we had 16 therapies scheduled in 1 week.
We don't know of any treatments that we could be pursuing in terms of like having him in a clinical trial that we would qualify for.
To advocate for better treatments and cures for everyone, all people with SCN2A-related disorders around the world. It's a tall order, but it's our mission, and I have no doubt we will get there.
Unfortunately, right now, we don't have any molecules or gene therapy approaches that are currently approved. There are a bunch that are in progress, and I'm hopeful for the future. And the beauty of SCN2A, compared to all of those other genes that are associated with autism spectrum disorder, is it encodes a channel, and those channels can be studied really exquisitely using a whole range of techniques. And in many ways, it's actually easier or more approachable to study ion channels and get information about how ion channels are affected and what processes they affect to contribute to autism or intellectual disability. That then could tell us about different approaches or different ways of thinking about those general processes entirely.
There are just so many questions left to answer, but I don't think we have to have all the answers before we can find better treatments